Yo, what's going on, bro?
What's up? What's up? So, finally get a chance to sit down. You've been ducking this podcast, this episode. I don't know what's been going on with you this week, but you all over the place. I guess you're a busy man. You're a busy man, hard man to get a hold of. But
I
we
got
was
to get my
talking.
mind. I had to get my mind right. That's it.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about, right?
That's what it's all about.
So we were talking about what this week's topic would be, and you
Mhm.
said racism. So I definitely agree to that because that's something that is definitely um, a direct or one of the direct links to mental health issues in our communities. So just racism and I guess how it impacts us in the past, present, and maybe even the future. So
So before we start the show, though, like, what experience did you have with racism? What experience did you have with racism?
I can see it already. Like, man, I'ma buy a big house, I'ma buy a big car, big Benz. Yeah, I'ma get my mom out the crib, I'ma get my family out the crib. Like, everybody's gonna hear my name. Damn. This morning I just woke up black. Race don't exist, but I woke up black. Sun in my face, I just woke up black. In this white man world, I just woke up black. This morning I just woke up black. Race don't exist, but I woke up black. Sun in my face, I just woke up black. In this white man world, I just woke up black.
damn, what experience I had with racism. I had a few encounters, but I guess one that stood out to me was because I grew up in the projects. Spent most of the time
What
in the
project?
projects. Cypress. So Cypress Hills
Cyprus.
Projects,
Okay.
East New York. So in that particular neighborhood, there was always a bunch of things happening, like shootouts, fights, robberies, and there's always cops posted in that neighborhood. So I think this one time I was actually coming from Megger, night class, and before I got to my neighborhood, apparently like there was a shootout, and I didn't know that. So I was walking, I was on my way, and like a cop, like two cop cars just pull up like right in front of me when I was entering my neighborhood, and they just jumped out and they just grabbed me up and just started like frisking me, shaking me down, like yo, and I'm like yo, what's going on? And call me off guard. I'm like yo, what's going on? And they like, oh, it was a shootout recently, and you match our description. And I'm like, what description? You know what I'm saying? Like what was so I'm asking these questions. I'm like, what's the physical description? Like what's going on? And they're not even answering me. They just like adamant about like frisking me and things like that. And in my mind, I'm just like, the only description I could come into mind is because I'm black. You know what I'm saying? I'm black. There was a shootout. I'm walking through the neighborhood. So you're just gonna grab the first person you see. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, so I experienced that, and I'm just like, yo, it's crazy. So that's just going through my mind. I'm like, if I if my skin color was different and I was walking through this neighborhood, would you would your reaction have been the same? Like, would y'all have really hopped out the car, grabbed me up, or would y'all let me keep walking by? You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, so that was like my last recent, like I felt like last recent like racist encounter personally, because I just like I feel strongly, and occasionally I would see Caucasians in that neighborhood, I guess chalk it up to gentrification and things like that never happened to them. So I'm like, regardless of what's going on. So I'm like, so yeah, that was my experience, my last recent experience with it.
Right. Okay. I think
What's
that.
your
I
thoughts
mean,
on
I,
that?
I can relate. I can relate. I can relate to that. I've been pulled out the car, couple times,
Yeah,
especially like the ones that are like undercover, the
yeah,
ones that
yeah,
be in their regular unmarked cars and they be dressing on their normal attire. I remember one time they pulled me and my boy out of taxi. We was in a taxi. We was coming
mm,
from Pickens, East.
mm,
Where you at? East New York.
yeah,
And we was just on. We took a cab. We going back to Flatbush,
yeah,
and a car gets stopped. And we thinking the driver is a little dirty,
right,
but
right,
they pull up to the whip. They open the car. They pull me out. Pull my boy out, and
mm,
they searching through our things. And then they got us in the back of the trunk,
Wow.
just getting the car checked and all types of stuff. And they didn't even search the driver; they were just looking for us.
Right.
But I guess it's because it's a hot zone.
Yeah.
But for us, even though we're not the ones committing the crime, we still get affected because the crime is happening in that area. You know what I'm
Because
saying?
we fit the quote unquote
We fit
physical
the
description.
which is, we all black. That's just what it is. Black, all black people doing the crime. From the police perspective, I'm like, I get how you come to that conclusion, but it is still prejudice. Like you
Right.
and racist. Like you can't just
Right.
randomly pick random people and thinking that we're all criminals. Basically, that's
Right.
what you're saying. We all criminals.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
when you pull us out the car, you stop us for no reason. That's the indication that we're getting.
Right.
So
Do you feel like they're justified in doing that because it's such a high crime rate in our neighborhoods? Do you feel like they're justified in any shape, way, or form handling the situations the way they do?
that's a tough question because it's like for us, like for
Because
me
some
and
people would
you,
say they're just doing their job.
yeah, but there's certain ethics in doing your job. The issue for us is like we don't want the crimes either.
Right.
It's not like we want the crimes either. I don't want the crimes. When crimes happen, everybody's like, yo, why can't we just have fun? Like, why we always got to do some extra stuff?
Right. Right.
But that's just how the cookie crumbles in our area. But are they justified in doing that? Nah, because they're breaking laws and they're breaking ethics that they wouldn't do for somebody else, for another group of people. That's the
Right.
issue. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
get it that we're doing these crimes, and these crimes are ridiculous and stupid, but you can't just put a broad brush over all of us.
Right.
Then that messes with me and you.
Right.
We're doing what we're supposed to be doing, but yet we still getting mixed up on the negative aspects of it.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
So I mean, so going through that experience with getting pulled over in a car and them handling the situation the way that they did, how did like you feel about that situation, or how would you say like like how did you feel about like viewing it the way like emotionally? Because we don't, like we said in the first podcast when we spoke about it, we don't really acknowledge our emotions in certain situations or even at all.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you feel like that impacted you? Like how did you feel about that? How do you feel like it made you feel emotionally going through something like that?
I think at that moment you just kind of like feel like yo, why me? Like what's going on? Like what did I do?
Right.
Then you realize like, oh snap, I'm just getting singled out because I'm black. It kind of like it sits into like the stereotype of like, yo, am I really a criminal? Like, do you really think that of me? And we might not feel like, yo, that bothers us, but it does bother us. You know what I mean? Like, you singled me out because of my skin color, not because you know me. You know what I mean? So is that what you think about me in general? And it goes into the fact that the individuals that are pulling us over are the ones that are controlling the society.
Right.
So then that goes into our self-esteem as like, okay, like these people who are the top of the society, they think of us like that, which goes and feeds into racism and job hiring and thinking that we're incapable of doing certain things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's one of those things that we have to encounter, we got to face when we're doing this thing.
That's true.
But like my top, not I want to say top moment, but my memorable moment of experience racism is when I was in school. I was in Brooklyn College, and while I was in Brooklyn College, I had a professor who in class one day we learned about, because I took a European Jewish history class.
Yeah.
And in class, he goes out and he just, while he's teaching, he says the N-word. And not the one with the A, the one with the ER.
ER, yeah, that makes it better.
It makes it different. It makes it different, but it don't make a difference for him. But he said it. But the crazy thing about it was he's Jewish. So like you would think that, he knows about oppression and oppression. Like, yo, that's just wrong because there was a time in history where his people were oppressed.
Right.
A word that oppressed another group.
Right.
It didn't make. To me, I had to it baffled my mind at the moment of how other oppressed people could oppress other people.
Right.
So he said that, and in my mind at that moment, I had to contemplate like, yo, do I go
address it,
or do I take it and step away and go see if I could get some other support? Because if I address it at the moment, it's probably not going to be a smart idea for me to do it, because his reaction might be, my reaction might be wrong, and I might do something that might mess up my whole career at that moment. This is my third year in Brooklyn College.
Yeah.
So I went to the cultural department.
Are you snitched?
Man, when I spoke to the lady, I'm like, yo, this dude did that. But guess what? It still didn't materialize until he wrote. I remember I did a paper and he wrote a comment comparing a mistake that I made in my paper to calling an African American boy. Put that in there, and then that one set me over the edge too.
He was reaching. It's almost like he's seeing how much he can get away with. Yeah.
So that one got me a little heated. But again, it's how do you react in those situations? Being black, and because you could react in a way that crushes your whole college career and your life.
Right. I think it puts you in a catch-22 situation. It's if you don't say anything, it bothers you, it festers up. You know what I'm saying? And then in your mind, it's how much times has he done this, and how much times will he continue to do this? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And then like you said, if you don't respond the right way, now it's almost in a sense, some people will say what he's saying is justified. Look how this person is reacting. This is why I say the things that I do. So I feel in those matters, I think I joked. I made a joke earlier to say you snitch, but I think in those moments, I think it's about finding the most diplomatic way to handle those situations.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It could go either way.
Right.
But at that moment, I knew the importance of Dr. King, because what Dr. King did is he created an avenue where we could report it and it could be rectified. Whereas if you go the other way, then it goes, you take it to another level where it could be either you going to jail or you getting kicked off the campus, or it's just wrong to hurt somebody just over words.
Right.
And so it's so many things that you have to deal with in your mind, because basically when the person does that, basically the person is just saying I don't respect your plight,
right?
What you're doing, I know these two words offended you in the past, and I know this is offensive to your culture, but I'm still gonna say it, even though other people have said other racist terms and got into more trouble, Miles Turner on the Heat. I forgot. I'm not Miles Turner. I think it's some dude on the Heat, some center, some power forward, who said a racial slur playing a video game, and he got not banned from the NBA, but he got fined, suspended, and then now he's out the NBA.
Wow.
So that's how it should be when somebody say something that's racially offensive, because then what we're saying is we're not tolerating that,
right?
You know what I mean? Because that behavior ends up of people murder, rape, discriminated against, all that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I think we got to get back to the center, huh?
I say he lucky I wasn't in his class. That's what I'm gonna say. but now we bring all that to say,
be diplomatic, man. You can't.
I mean, I have my moments, man. I have my moments. I try to be as diplomatic as possible, but sometimes I have my moments, But it's what makes us. You know what I'm saying? That I want to say that edge. You know what I'm saying? We have that edge. So to let people know, there's only so much you could get away with talking to me. I'm not gonna act like what you think I am, but I'm gonna let you know, respectfully, like what it is. You know what I mean? And I feel like we should move a little bit more towards that in order to see the changes that we want to see. But moving it forward a little bit, I feel like everyone has a different encounter and different experience and different perspective of racism. So if you could sum it up and put it in a nutshell, what would you say? Well, what is racism to you, to your perspective?
I think racism is, first of all, I think it's a social construct.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not really real in terms of, it's real because we put the we put importance on it because the society has put importance on it. But in history, like white and black and among I forgot the other terms, but there was other classifications. But when they first made up the classifications, Johann Friedrich Blumenblatt in the 1700s, he made up those classifications. It was more about nations and like tribes and clans. It wasn't about white and black. Like those constructs, that construct didn't exist. It was invented in America, really. Before it was just like in Africa, there's like 56 countries.
Yeah.
And each of those countries, they have distinct tribes and lineage and history and culture. You know what I mean? Like even in the continent of Africa, they don't look at each other as the same. You know what I mean? Right. Only in America, where if you're black, if you're a certain skin color, then you fall into this category of black. Or if you go in this skin color, you fall into the category of white. Right. Which then white people have used to say, listen, all right, because you fall into this category, now I get to oppress you. Because,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just feel like it's more of a racism or race in general. I feel like it's a power dynamic because it's like this one race, which a bunch of countries fall into, is now becomes more important than the other race, which a bunch of countries fall into, which then feels into inferiority,
right,
into colonialism, feels into imperialism, feels into slavery. So it's kind of like a power dynamic. I mean, it goes back to like greed.
Right.
So racism is more of one race saying that they're more powerful, more important than the other race, and the other race is just inferior to the main race. What you think of this?
Definitely. Like, dang, you hit it. You hit it on the nail. You hit it. But one of the key words that you said that stuck out to me, you said it's a social construct, but it's also, you said, depression. And to me, like that's what it is. Like it's a system of oppression. You know what I'm saying? Because you look like this, because your friends look like this, your ancestors look like this, because the statistics show this. Now I'm over you. I'm better than you. I could do this to you. I could oppress you in this way, in this manner. You know what I'm saying? Because I have this skin color and you have that skin color. You know what I mean? So it becomes this system of oppression that allows people to think that they're better than another group of people. And then that leads to a whole bunch of things. I'm going to treat you this way, and then I'm going to view you this way, even to the examples that we gave earlier, being stop, and frisk. Like, you fit this physical description, this profile, but what description, what profile, what is it? Like, you know what I'm saying? And them feeling like, okay, because I look like this and you look like that, I could conduct myself towards you in this shape, in this manner, and I can have you under me. I can oppress you. So I feel like definitely it's a system. Racism definitely a system of oppression that drives people to treat another people a particular type of way. And that
how do you think racism affect mental health?
Yo, like that's a heavy question. I definitely think in the beginning we said like that's one of the racism is definitely one of the things that impacts mental health, especially because of basically what I was just saying. If you feel like if you're living in an environment atmosphere where you're consistently oppressed and you're not being treated fairly or equally, even if it's on the most subtle level, that's gonna creep in and it's gonna affect you over time mentally. You know what I'm saying? You start to view certain things like, yo, why I can't do this, why I can't do that, why I can't simply walk through my neighborhood without having 2 or 3 cops pull up on me, guns out, you know what I'm saying? Like ready to shoot. Like you're not even talking to me like I'm a human being. You automatically think I fit some physical description of some crime that I I have no idea about. So, you know what I'm saying? Like walking, like it's in your mind, like walking through your neighborhood knowing that you have a chance of being oppressed. You know what I'm saying? Randomly just walking through your neighborhood doing regular things. Like they have this thing going on before, like I guess they made a joke about it, but it's like, jogging while black. You know what I'm saying? Doing how we're doing regular daily things and we're being treated in a way as if we committed some crime. And I think that having that on your mentality every day, like, looking over your shoulders, is going to get to you. It's going to affect your mental health. You know what I'm saying? It's going to increase your stress levels. And, you know what I'm saying? I just don't, it puts you in a state of constant survival mode. And you and I were talking about that earlier, how, what I'm saying, the flight or fight response. That's something that's supposed to be temporarily, that's something that's supposed to temporarily happen in order for you to survive in that moment. But you remaining in that constant state is gonna weigh you down. You know what I'm saying? Like emotionally, physically, and especially mentally. So I don't know. Like, yeah. How do you think it affects us? How do you think racism affects our mental health?
You know, to be honest, I didn't know it affected my mental health till I was a teacher, and it was a PD,
Mm,
professional development, on
yeah.
survival brain and normal brain.
Mm,
And I was watching the video, and they were telling you all the categories under survival brain,
yeah.
and then they're giving all the categories on the normal brain. I think people should look it up, like survival brain versus normal brain. Survival brain is a brain that's constantly in fear,
Mm,
which we are, because it's like not only we are in fear of the people, the individuals in our neighborhood who's experiencing trauma and letting that trauma out on other individuals,
yeah.
but we're also experiencing the constant belief that we are inferior in terms of like the media always telling us that we're criminals, and um, even sometimes our own people will just say like, "Yo, we're not gonna amount to anything," or "There's no
Right.
belief in one another." So all that feeds into our low self esteem,
Right.
because as a child growing up, you got to instill confidence in us.
Mm,
I don't remember anybody ever instilling confidence in myself. Like when you're growing up, sometimes you got to build that confidence from within. It becomes fake confidence that you have,
right. It's like
because
you
you
fake it
don't,
to make it.
you fake it till you make it. Because
Right. Right.
where else you gonna get the confidence from? If
Yeah.
society tells you you're not good enough
Mm,
because of your skin color, and then their neighborhood, which you come from, isn't good enough because
right.
it's often because you're low income, so you have low income problems in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Um, so it factors into your low self esteem, because you're constantly being told that you're inferior, either indirectly or indirectly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that feeds into your confidence, which goes into your anxiety, because your anxiety is just fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I had to look
Yeah.
it up because I'm like, oh, why I always have all this anxiety within me, and I'm like, oh, it's just fear.
Right. Right.
But it's fear because you've been told that you're not good enough. So now every time you do something, now you're just fearful of performing, because
Right.
yo, oh snap! Like if I fail, then I'm basically uh, not agreeing with what they're saying, but like proving them right. Fitness is
Mm,
kind of like a thought or a statistic. You know what I mean?
right. Right.
Um, so that factors into your life, even as into an adult. You got to
Mm,
realize it.
right.
And also, if you're losing, it's hard to keep your confidence up when you're losing,
Yeah.
or when you're in a constant losing situation.
Right.
Because what I realize is nothing feels better than the winning streak after you've been losing for so long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What would you say about? What would you say to the kids like that experiences? Because you and I, because you touched on something interesting. You said like the media. The media bombards us with this image that we are criminals consistently. You know what I'm saying? But you and I are old enough to be able to differentiate and compartmentalize that. Like that's not all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't. You know. But what about the kids that probably don't have that mindset to be like, that's not all of us, and we're not all criminals. Like, what would you say to them? Like, how would they be able to compartmentalize that, or like, I guess develop thicker skin to not actually believe the images and things that they're seeing and hearing and being bombarded by it and having that affect their self-esteem.
So that's a great question. I think that's what I want a lot of people to gain from the podcast. Two things, but this is one of them. That having a lot like us professionals in the forefront, showing kids a different path will help them get their self-esteem up. I feel like like educate like teachers, firefighters, lawyers, artists, not only people that make music, but people that paint, that do poetry, that write books. I think those individuals need to be in the forefront in the media.
Yeah,
so kids could see something that's not anything other than entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because once they see that as only the success, that's what they're only going to strive for, because that's the only thing that they see.
Right. You know what I
mean? But if they're seeing other images and things that are actually more like, oh yeah, I had a teacher that was cool. I met this firefighter that was cool, that looked like me. You know what I mean?
Right.
We have more role models that look like us, that are other than entertainers. Because what ends up happening is when we raise our kids in our community, it becomes Russian roulette. Russian roulette in terms of who, because every person, every man, every woman wants to inspire to be somebody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't have those images in the community, those positive images in the community, they're gonna naturally fall into the negative images in the community. That's why I say it's Russian roulette. Because if you're not teaching your kids at home, if you're not that image at home, if you're not giving that time to your kids, then when they're gonna naturally look for it in the society.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So that gap that they're having,
in our community is very few positive images.
Right.
Because us professionals, we're not in the forefront. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I says Russian roulette, because that's why a lot of our kids gravitate to more of the negative aspects of it, because they're not seeing enough positive aspects of it. That's why me and you need to be more in the forefront, and other professionals to be more in the forefront, so kids could pick. They might not like me, but they like you, and they want to be like Remy. You know what I'm saying? But
vice versa.
And then, but too long along the line, they probably rather be like somebody in their neighborhood that is getting money, but probably in a negative way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
okay, definitely. All right. You definitely be giving me like things to think about. Like every time we talk, I'll be like,
there you go.
I just want to ask you more and more stuff. So like,
but I also want to say that this is not like, when we making this podcast, this is not an excuse for like to complain about racism, or say that this is the only thing that's holding us back. It's just it's one aspect, but we got to make better decisions. It's not an excuse for me and you, because regardless of what happens to this podcast, we still got to deal with it. You know what I mean? It's not going to go away. The society is not going to change. Probably not while we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s. Probably it might change when we're in our 50s and 60s.
Or maybe not even in our lifetime.
Yeah. But the goal is to prepare a better situation for the next generation, the kids that we teach.
Right. And I think it like to further that point, I think we got to have a starting point. I think there's nothing. I always tell people there's nothing wrong with complaining,
Mm-hmm.
but then what? You know what I'm saying?
What's
If
the
you gonna
solution?
right, if you're just gonna complain and not find a solution, then it's like don't complain. But it's just like complain, get it off your chest, but now find a solution to that complaint so that you don't have to complain about it anymore. So I feel like this is a good start to that. Like we're voicing the complaints in our communities, and now that's on the table, hopefully now we could do something. We could, do something to find permanent solutions to those complaints. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
So then I flip it because then that opens up another question. Like,
Mhm.
do you think racism is the problem in our community, or do you think it's us too?
Um, I think it's both. I think it's both sides. I think racism and the system of oppression that it brings within our communities is definitely a problem. But then the thing that exacerbates that is how we respond to it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a lot of us are not in control of our emotions and we get triggered too easily because of all the things that we've been through and being under extreme mental stress that this podcast we're talking about being under extreme mental stress and conditions every day that exacerbate that. It's like everybody's on edge. You know what I'm saying? And then when something happens, let's say it could be a multitude of things that exacerbate that. It could be racism, it could be poverty, it could be when it's one of those tipping points. It's like now when we experience that and the way that we respond to that, I think that makes matters worse. You know what I'm saying? Like I think we got to do a better job at like not snapping so much. Like I understand
Mm-hmm.
being under certain conditions, but I think we like the experience that you had with your professor. We got to find more strategic and diplomatic ways to handle situations that we're experiencing. Otherwise, no one is really gonna want to help our plight, and they're almost gonna use the way that we respond to things to justify the condition that we're in. See, look how he's responding. That's why they're in that situation that they're in. It's like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a good question though.
I, I I think that is also both too, but I think that when I think about like the term Black Power,
Mm,
I think about a term that like what does it mean?
mm,
And oftentimes like we don't we don't have a recordation of what Black Power is in the past because
mm.
black number one, black is a new term for us within itself. Not the color, but the term that we call ourselves black is a new term within
Yeah.
itself. But then when you think about it, Black Power is just wanting to be able to express ourselves
Mm.
um, in a society that's dominated by another group of people.
So you think Black Power is a way to combat racism in a sense?
Yeah, basically, like why can't we be ourselves?
Right.
Why we have to acquiesce to what you want to do,
Right.
type of thing.
Right.
Um, and because we have a stake in this country as well.
Mm.
So that's what I think about when I think about Black Power is like it's just we wanting to express ourselves. That's what we want been wanting to do since slavery.
Right.
Wanting to express ourselves within the society and not have
Right.
to deal with um the issues with it. The
Mm.
issues of being held back or not telling that we can't enter or saying that we're not smart enough to do this. Um but to answer the question directly is do I think that saying that it's both is
Mm.
because yeah, it affects us
Mm.
and the thing is our reaction to it in terms of how we discipline ourselves
Mm.
um ends up being the factor that makes it our fault because we just have
Right.
to make better decisions. We can't we know this stuff is here
Right.
and we either have to educate ourselves and then once we educate ourselves and take care of our homes
Mm.
then we can be able to combat it better.
Right.
Um, but we just got to keep striving for Black power, which is to
Right.
be able to express ourselves.
Right. So you mentioned, that's interesting. I want to ask you this real quick. So you mentioned Black Power and that being one of the avenues that could be taken to combat racism, which we know racism affects mental health, Black mental health. So do you feel like Black Power and us being able to be ourselves and be comfortable in our skin and express ourselves, do you feel like that is a way, or that could be one of the ways to improve mental health in our communities?
The increase of Black power.
Yeah, or just that Black Power, being able to express yourself, being able to be yourself. Do you feel like that would improve mental health in our communities?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because uh, we're not expressing ourselves in
Mm.
the community, and us not expressing ourselves is not only killing us mentally, it's
Mm.
killing us physically,
Mm.
it's also killing us spiritually.
Mm.
Um, we just it's like we're trying to break out of a shell, but we can't break out of a shell because somebody else is constantly telling you that you're inferior, whether indirectly or directly.
Right.
Um, so if we are able to express ourselves and be able to educate ourselves,
Mm.
and that in turn make better decisions, then we'll
Right.
definitely be able to combat racism. It'll probably be more of in a minimum because racism will always be there because of the power dynamic that exists in this society.
Mm.
Saying white people already make more wealth than us, and
Right.
they use that wealth to continue racism. So
Right.
um, I think more of that's the debate that our leaders and our ancestors talked about in the past, whether it's
Yeah.
economics or it's more of a social movement.
Yeah.
Economic, do we got to get a lot of money, or do we just need to end racism? That's always been a debate in our community.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that there's a factor in it,
Yeah.
being able to express ourselves.
Yeah.
Then we'll be more confident.
Definitely. Which will.
Yeah, I think a lot of people of color are just we're apprehensive because of fear of being told that we're not good enough.
Right. Which
It's a
will
lot of
combat. Yeah.
it's a lot of dreams out there that can't fly because they're so conscious of what other people think about them. That's
Right.
because they've been taught from little that you're not really good enough.
Right.
Deep down in our mind, we have this talent. We know it's good, but we
Right.
can't let it out because we're like, damn, but I got other people thinking that we're not good enough
Right.
for us to do it. But you know what I mean? Who are they to say that?
That's the thing. And then just being able to express ourselves and being comfortable combats the main two things that we were talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
those two things leading to mental health issues, which is low self-esteem that's found
Mm-hmm.
in our communities, and racism. So definitely agree to that. Just trying to be more comfortable in our skins, being able to express ourselves without fear of what may happen. So
Yeah.
definitely got to push more towards
And
in that direction.
and
Yeah.
we could also we could I'm not saying we could end it, but we could also help minimize racism if in our community we schools are non-negotiable. Like we have to make school a non-negotiable because we have to make sure that our kids are like educated to
What you mean by that? When you say non-negotiable, what you mean by that?
like we can't like you gotta go get your high school diploma.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Go to college.
yeah.
Um like if you like to rap, if you like to play ball, that's cool too. But like make sure that's a hobby. Like you could do that. Like I never met most people in the NBA went to college.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say that school should be a non-negotiable. Like we should make that number one. And even if you don't want to go to the NBA, like, and let's just say you don't want to get a college degree, at least get your high school diploma. Like it should be
Right. Right.
negotiable. That should be like parents got to be on that
Yeah.
because that that's a higher rate of success than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Having a college diploma. So I'm always gonna be like a firm advocate. Like, yo, go to school, get some form of education. It doesn't even have to be a diploma, not like a academic. It could be a skill based school.
It's like trade school.
Yeah, trade school. Like, but get something that that you could use to benefit yourself.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So,
what's next on the agenda?
How do we end racism though? Like, what do you think is the key to ending racism?
The key to ending it.
What do you think is the key?
It's such a huge construct. It's like it's almost like, yo, where do you start? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you tackle it? Dang, it's like, where do you start? I don't know. I think the first step, I think is multi-layered, but I think the first initial step is just how we address it. You know, how we address it, and most importantly, how we respond to it. I feel like if we see it happening, then there's a way to address it respectfully and not, let that happen. Because that happens in, place of work so many times where someone will say something, think it's like a joke or whatever. And if you don't like it, you don't pretend like you cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Because then it goes on. And then that joke might be, or that slur or whatever might be said against you at a later date. And you may be on that edge point that we spoke about, and then you explode. And then it just makes matters worse. So I feel like we need to address it, acknowledge it in a more diplomatic way, so that way people could realize, yo, this person doesn't like this racial slur or whatever is being said to him. Let me refrain from that. And then it causes that person to be more mindful of the things that they're saying and be aware and take accountability. And then that kind of just spreads. And if we could get more people that address it diplomatically and respectfully, can cause people that are doing it to be more aware of their actions. And I feel like if that continues to go on, then we'll be taking a step in the right direction. How about you?
So you're basically saying holding people accountable for their actions.
Right. I feel like we end up in a lot of like being at work, someone might say something to you like what we said, like the N-word. You know what I'm saying? You may not like it, but they may say it in a way where it may kind of make you comfortable with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll take it as a term of endearment. With me personally, like, don't say that to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially if me and you, I don't want to say especially if me and you're not on that level, just in general, like, I feel like we shouldn't be normalizing something like that. Because then other people see us calling ourselves that, and then when they do it, they're like, well, why can't we do it? You guys do it to each other all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think that's a whole different podcast.
Yeah.
But I think that's a whole different one.
Yeah. But basically, like, address it. If someone says something to you, you don't like it, like, don't spaz on them or, black. Just be like, yo, respectfully, yo, don't call me that. I'm not comfortable with you calling me that. And then, and then let them know why. So, normalize having conversations. Let them know why. And then the person will be like, oh, snap. If you give them your perspective clearly and you articulate it in a manner where they get it, they're going to be like, oh, snap. Like, I didn't even know you felt this way. I apologize. And then, now they're going to be mindful of it. And then hopefully that spreads and, it takes us in the right direction. What do you think about that?
Nah, I mean, I see what you're saying. Just holding them accountable to to their actions, which is that's definitely important. I think that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to do right now with the justice system, police and police violence towards people of color. I think a couple things. First things, definitely, I think that we need more diversity.
Yeah,
I think that diversity is important because it can get people more comfortable with each other. You can't hate somebody that you could still hate somebody that but in terms of like sometimes the hate is more of I don't know that person.
Right.
I'm gonna hate you because I don't know you, or I've been taught to hate this individual, and then I met the person, and I'm like, oh wait, he's not that bad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that happens to me a lot. I know that happened to you because we grew up in predominantly black community, black areas.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's times when we meet another person from another different ethnic group, and I'm like, oh snap, it's not y'all do the same things that we do,
Right.
just differently.
Right.
And then you see y'all vibe together on a friendship level, and it's like, oh, okay, you're not that bad.
Right.
I think just more of interactions with each other um, opens up a conversation, and then it opens up your mind. Like I think racism, or no, I wouldn't say racism. I think prejudice. I think that's more prejudice. You hating somebody is more of a scope thing because at the end of the day, we're all humans. We all go through the same trials and tribulations.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't do nothing different from me. So when you realize that we go through the same things and we can laugh the same or we can enjoy the same things, then it becomes this person is not that. This person is not what I thought that person
Right.
was. You know what I mean? Or what I've been told. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that's the key to helping ending it. 'Cause I feel like when slavery was ended, it's because enough people thought slavery was wrong for it to end.
Right.
Same thing is going to have to be with racism. Enough people have to say, okay, this is wrong. Like, why are we saying that this another group of human beings are inferior to us because of a skin color that they don't even decide?
Right.
So at some point, people are going to realize, okay, this is dumb. Like, why are we doing this? Like, let them enjoy the same earth that we are. Because if we allow one bad thing to happen here, just like Martin Luther King said, you allow one injustice to happen here, this one bully here, then you okay all bullies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
You okay one killing, you okay all killings.
Yeah.
That's the basis of law.
Right.
You know what I mean? The basis of law, if you allow one, you allow all. That's why the laws is, we got to catch those criminals, because the more we catch, the more it makes people hesitant to be criminals.
Right.
The more we allow racism to fester, the more we endorse kind of, or like promote racism, because we're just letting it happen.
Right.
The more we have diversities, the more we address our prejudiced thoughts.
Yeah.
I feel like I was mixing the word prejudice and racism while I was speaking.
I thought about it too. It wasn't just you. It's definitely those.
We gotta delineate that, because prejudice is you not liking a person, and racism is you using your power to
oppress somebody. That's why I said earlier, racism being a system of oppression.
Yeah. We should define that in the beginning, but that's us. But
so we have some good key points, I think, to combat the system of oppression known as racism. So we said acknowledging it and holding people accountable that perpetuate that. And then you came in and you said basically unlearning a lot of things that we were taught, and also opening up a door for more diversity to combat that. So I think what was that? Some like four solid points in combating the system of oppression known as racism. Now the only way now is like to try to implement that a little bit more, and hopefully talking about it can get people to think about it more and could get that message to spread across, and
absolutely
in the betterment of mental health.
Because you got to think about it. I think change in America started to happen when Black people started joining the military. Black people started going and integrated into sports. Like, we started to be integrated in spaces where people who never experienced people of color, or they did experience and they only saw them on the light of inferiority, but now that they're seeing them side by side, either in a basketball game or a baseball game with Jackie Robinson, or they're in the military and you're fighting and you're dying beside another human being, and you realize, like, oh damn, this dude's gonna shoot the same, this dude's gonna have my back the same.
Yeah.
So when we in that There's always been an argument in our community whether or not we should join the military or not.
Right.
Because Muhammad Ali said, "Why am I gonna serve a country that never respected me?" But then the flip side of the argument is, well, us integrating the military gave us not only another stake in America, say like, yo, this is our country because we bled for it, but also it helps with diversity. Now other races and other ethnic groups could be like, oh snap,
Yeah.
not bad. What I've learned is not actually true.
Right. What would you say? This is gonna be my last question.
Yeah.
Coming up on the hours. It's gonna be my last question.
Yeah,
I gotta hit you with something good. I gotta hit you with a haymaker.
You got to.
So what would you say to the flip side to that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna elaborate on that a little bit more. So some people, what would you say to the people that argue that point about why have that diversity element? You know what I'm saying? Like, because all these years of us being in this country, being oppressed and seeking equality and seeking to combat the system of oppression known as racism, nothing has really I mean, it has changed, but it's still around, still lingers. So what would you say to the people that say, forget that integration and let's our people do our own thing. Let's have our own thing. Let's build our own thing. And if they want to continue, these individuals want to continue perpetuating racism, let them do them and let us do our own thing over here. Do you feel like, what would you say to them? Do you feel like us having our own, establishments and us doing our own thing, do you feel like that would lead to a betterment of mental health instead of trying to bridge that gap or mend that gap?
It's basically an argument of separation versus integration.
Essentially.
Yeah, I mean,
I respect Dr. King, but there's a lot of people who also disagree with what he did. And that could be another something at another day.
That's definitely another topic of whether integration or separation is necessary. The issue with separation is that you're still integrating. Even if you're separating, you're still integrating. The reason why is because as long as you're in a country, you still gotta abide by the country's norms. I want to say norms, but laws, protocols, all that.
To a certain extent.
And you still have to like get funding, not in terms of like, not actual, like, I want to say the word funding. I would say patronizing of outside cultures to help grow your culture within.
To a certain extent. What if somebody says, because I've heard this example a few times, somebody says, yo, we could get together, build our own community, and we could actually create our own currency. And we could,
but then we become a separate nation. That's a separate nation if you're building your own currency. You can't, again, when you're building your own currency, that means you have to be self-sufficient. Self-sufficient in terms of you don't need to get no other resources outside of that community.
Why can't that happen?
We can't, because you always going to need trade. Trade is always important. Trade has been here since the beginning of time, since the Silk Road. You always going to need trade. You're always going to lack other resources, and you're always going to need you're always going to lack resources, and you're always going to want to have a surplus of a certain amount of resources, and then you've got to trade to get the economy to expand.
Right.
That's the only way great empires grow to be superpowers. Look at Rome, look at China, look at America, look at Britain. It's the fact that they were able to extract other resources from different areas, whether it be colonialism, whether it be actual trade, but they had to extract resources from other areas for them to be superpowers. You know what I mean? To grow. You know what I mean? But if we're separated, you can't really do that. You have the whole world is integrated right now. The whole world is integrated. You can make an argument for it. It's separated, but it's everything is a part of each other. You can't really make a decision. You can't really make a ethical decision in the world right now without another country addressing it. If you get what I'm saying, like
I get what you mean, but
in China right now, there's problems with the government there, and then you got people in America that's saying like, well, they need to be able to practice democracy. You know what I mean? So there's always you can't really. The whole world is now intersynced.
I guess what people, I guess the best analogy that I could use is similar to. I mean, you used to live in Brooklyn. You seen we both went to Medgar Evers College, so you seen that area is a high influx of the of Jewish people there, and taking the blueprint of what they do, they look like they got their own thing. You know what I'm saying? They're not really worried about what people is doing on the outside. And some people will say, "Yo, look, I have to talk to them, interview them, and stuff like that." But some people say they probably have maybe better mental health than individuals outside their community because of the way that they run things and things of that nature. So, what would you say about that?
I mean,
so kind of like that concept.
I mean, again, even if we were to follow that blueprint, they still interact with outside communities. Be mindful that the Jewish people are the ones that started the NCAACP. So they've been very instrumental in the civil rights movement. They've been very instrumental in other programs in our community. So it like they're involved, but they know when it's time for them to commune amongst themselves, which is not a problem. Like you could commune among yourself, like your own people that you're comfortable with. That because you're comfortable with them,
right?
We do that all the time. You get what I'm saying? We do the same exact things that they do. Every culture do the same exact things that that the Jewish people do in terms of their blueprint. They just do it differently.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I got you.
They commune among themselves. We commune among ourselves.
Right.
Italians commune among themselves. Chinese commune among themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they just do it differently, and they do it distinctly.
Yeah.
But we all do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just that how we treat each other within the community is the issue.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
That's the difference. That's why I think that this podcast is important because we need to make better decisions because we should use that blueprint on how we treat each other because they treat each other so well.
Yeah, that's a separate day, separate conversation. So we're coming up on an hour. You want to give any closing statements before we close out?
One more thing, man. What you think about this 1619 project, critical race theory?
60 that. Oh man, you want to
project critical race theory, man? What you think what's the problem? What's the holdup with that, man? Because we educators.
You want to? We got time.
We got time.
I'll let you expand on it first because you teaching history.
Okay.
And that's more your realm, so I'll let you introduce that, and then I'll build on top of what you're saying.
I mean, my opinion on it is that.
Well, what is it first and foremost? Just as a little synopsis, so the people that probably don't know what you are referring to.
Well, the 1619 project is a project to introduce more African American history into the curriculum, but going back all the way to 1619 when we first got here on slave ship, because that's the date that we got here on slave ships was around 1619. Right. We got there before under the Spanish and the Portuguese, especially in Brazil where most slaves actually went to Brazil. Under the Portuguese, and then second would probably be under the Spanish when they went to Mexico and the Caribbean. But in America, in American history, the first slaves touched down in 1619 in Jamestown, right, in the South. So the project is just to basically highlight what occurred during slavery, because I feel like even today, I don't feel like we understand the magnitude of those 400 years, because to this day we still haven't received therapy for those 400 years, and that's like back to back to back to back of generations going through that type of oppression, and we can't even fathom that oppression because we're far removed from it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For me to quantify it, I'll be kidding myself. Like it'll be crazy for me to quantify what our ancestors did, working from sun up to sundown. So the 1619 project is to basically insert African American history into our curriculum in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans are like against it, and the reason why I'm not even say I feel like I said the reason why they're against it is because they understand that teaching slavery is going to draw sympathy, especially if you're teaching it to their kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're teaching it to their kids are going to realize like, oh, this is wrong, and on a human basis, it is wrong.
Right.
Or even on and I'm pretty sure because most of America are Christians. On a biblical basis is wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like just how you treat people. Like you can't believe in Jesus and be like, oh, this was right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they know that. I think the party, anybody that's against it knows that. It's gonna draw sympathy and empathy from people who did not experience that, learning about that. Because I don't think people learn the full extent of slavery. I'm learning as an adult the full extent of slavery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As an adult, we're learning about the Red Summer, more about sharecropping, more about anti-lynching laws. Because this is how you know racism is still prevailing. It was when we was getting lynched, there was senators who proposed anti-lynch laws to stop lynching, and I forgot the number. There's a number. What's that number of what? The number escaped me, but it's like definitely over 200 laws that were like filibustered through Congress. It couldn't get passed. It just wasn't passing them. And just recently, they tried to pass that law through Congress, and they still rejected it. So basic laws about not killing somebody by hanging them off the tree, they can't even get passed. So I think that the reason why they're trying to like stop this critical race theory is just to stop sympathy and empathy amongst white people, so that they know if we got more sympathy and empathy, we could actually end this whole racist idea. Because it's just gonna be like, damn, like why are we treating these people like this?
Right.
Everything. Because why are we?
That's heavy, man. That's heavy. Yo, that's definitely heavy. I would say it connects back to the hold up on the project, connects back to what we were talking about earlier in conjunction with racism. A lot of people, it's difficult for a lot of people to acknowledge and take accountabilities for the atrocities that they have committed or have benefited from. Because when you do that, when you acknowledge it, when you accept it, now you got to do something about it. And a lot of people who are benefiting from it don't want to do anything, don't want to rectify it because they're benefiting from it. You know what I'm saying? And if doing something may potentially disrupt the way you're benefiting from something, it's like you're going to be a little bit reluctant. You're going to be a little bit hesitant. You know what I'm saying? So I think that project is going to force a lot of individuals to acknowledge and take accountability for the things that their ancestors did and also the things that they're benefiting from today. And if they do so, it's going to disrupt their benefits. So I feel like that's what the major hold up is. Well, from my perspective. So this is your perspective and my perspective. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. I was just looking at the stat that I missed It's 200 anti-lynching bills was not passed.
Dang.
It's
That's
crazy.
a hefty number, bro.
So you telling me all those bills was created, but none of them passed? So yeah, but I think racism, psychiatrists have said that racism is twice as likely to affect your mental health than your physical health, and that people who reported racism also experienced the following mental health issues: depression, stress, emotional distress, anxiety, PTSD, suicidal thoughts. And again, we don't speak about those things, but like me and you, just to close out, me and you who especially recently have been experiencing a lot of people around us going through mental health issues. We just want to definitely highlight that, like, yo, racism is is scientifically proven to cause mental health issues on the people that it's being inflicted on. And we got to acknowledge that, and we got to address it. Not only ourselves in expressing ourselves, because again, mental health kills if we don't express ourselves and address it, but also for the individuals that know that they might not be complicit in doing racism, but they might either see a peer do it, or see somebody in their community do it, or see somebody in this country do it. And again, going back to what you're saying, hold them accountable. Because it's wrong, and we want to make sure that we're treating everybody fairly and let everybody be able to enjoy the amenities that God created on this earth.
Got you. I think that was some powerful closeout.
And that's it.
Powerful. So recap. So I know we're a little bit unclear in the beginning, but today's topic, racism, it being the system of oppression that it is.
Were we unclear?
A little bit, because we were bouncing back and forth about racism and being prejudiced towards the beginning, but just to like.
Well, I think those two go hand in hand, though. I think prejudice feeds into the racism.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah,
all right. So
I don't personally. I don't like you liking somebody, you not liking somebody. That's your preference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The thing is, when you're not liking somebody, it turns into affecting somebody else's life.
Right.
That's the issue. Like, people could not like, you know what I mean, somebody else.
Okay, all right.
Your own volition, like you could do whatever you want. It's your life. Don't affect anybody else in your behavior. That's the only thing that we're pleading with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That.
All right. So today's
that's racism right there. When you let your hatred for somebody turn into you holding them back from accomplishing things in life, experiencing life in the right way.
Okay.
Or the way that they want, or the way that we want to experience life.
Okay. So my closing remarks are racism and the system of oppression that it is today, the way it socially constructs the society around us, and how to combat that, and how racism can lead to mental health issues. And you gave a few examples of that just now: the depression, stress, and we spoke about low self-esteem earlier. So how racism can lead to that, and just different points and methods that we can apply to combat that. And we said that earlier, addressing it diplomatically, having individuals take accountability for perpetuating it. And you said unlearning some of the things that we've been taught and learned about racism, and also creating more diversity. So that was today's topic. It was a little bit long, so hopefully you guys can get through it and you guys could pick up something from it.
If they're listening to this, then they did get through it. If they hear you say that, then they did get through it, Brody.
Let's do it, because we know Ivan's got too much knowledge in his head. Just be spitting. So, but thank you for rocking with us.
We gotta promote that more, man.
Yeah,
more
definitely.
In our community, man.
So thank you for rocking with us. Thank you for staying on with us. And until next time, peace, prosperity, and Black power, people.
Enjoy.